The day she arrived, the entire academy went silent. It was not because she was loud or commanding, she was just human. And no one in the Galactic Academy had ever seen a human before. The building was huge, made of silver walls that hummed softly with energy. Inside, alien cadets of all shapes and colors were training. Some had scales, some fur, others skin that shimmered like water. They were all strong. They were all proud. And yet, when she entered, everything stopped. Her name was Lila Morgan. A young human woman, no older than 22. She walked with a calm smile, holding a small data pad in a bag. Her job was simple. Caretaker of younglings. Experimental division. But no one understood what that meant. The first day, she was taken to a small wing of the academy, a new area made specially for cubs. They were young aliens, between 2 and 6 years old, children of soldiers from different worlds. They were wild, untamed, loud, and proud. The academy called them the future of the fleet. But when Lila entered their room for the first time, the sound was deafening. A roar, a screech, a hiss, all mixed together. Dozens of cubs were running in chaos, jumping from table to wall, breaking things, fighting. Even the instructors stood outside the glass window, too scared to go in. Lila looked at them quietly. She didn't shout. She didn't call for guards. She simply walked in, and the chaos slowed. At first, the cubs stared at her. A small human, soft skin, no claws, no tail, no armor. They expected fear. They expected her to run. Instead, she sat down on the floor. She placed her bag beside her and opened it. From inside, she pulled out a small round object and a music sphere. She tapped it once. Soft earth lullaby filled the room. The cubs froze. They had never heard something so calm, so gentle. It felt warm. One of the smallest cubs, a silver-furred creature with golden eyes, crept closer. It sniffed her shoe, then sat beside her. Then another came, and another. Within minutes, Lila was surrounded by alien children. They listened. They purred. They hummed. And that's how it started. By the end of the week, something strange was happening at the academy. Whenever Lila entered the youngling wing, every cub stopped whatever it was doing. Whenever she left, the cubs howled. The sound echoed through the entire building, a deep, sorrowful wail that made even the veteran soldiers uneasy. The first time it happened, alarms went off. Everyone thought there was an attack, but it was only the cubs crying because their human caretaker had left for lunch. The instructors were confused, even a little angry. They had spent months trying to control these young aliens, with training, rules, and machines. This human woman had done it in days, with just kindness. Soon, the Academy's commanders took notice. In the main conference room, Admiral Kor, a tall reptilian alien, slammed his hand on the table. "This is unacceptable. The cubs are soldiers in training, not pets. They must learn discipline, not affection." Another officer replied, voice hesitant. "But Admiral, they listen to her. They eat when she tells them to. They even sleep now. Before she came, they destroyed 3 sleeping pods," the Admiral hissed softly. "Then she stays for now. But keep an eye on her. Humans are unpredictable." And so Lila stayed. Her days became a routine. She arrived early, greeted every cub by name, and started their day with soft songs and small lessons. She taught them how to paint, how to write simple words in Galactic Basic, and how to say thank you. To most soldiers, these were useless lessons. But to the cubs, it was everything. They adored her. When she sat down, they climbed over her arms. When she smiled, their tails wagged. When she yawned, they yawned too. And when she left, they howled. But one cub was different. His name was Ricard, the son of a famous warrior general. He was bigger, stronger, and proud. He never smiled, never listened. He believed humans were weak. One afternoon, while others played, Ricard sat in the corner, growling softly. Lila noticed. She walked toward him and sat down beside him. "Why don't you play with others, Ricard?" she asked softly. He didn't answer. He only showed his small fangs. "You're not my mother," he said coldly. "You're not even one of us." Lila didn't reply immediately. She just smiled. "You're right," she said. "But I care for you like one." Ricard froze. No one had ever said that to him before. He turned his head away, pretending not to care. But that night, when Lila left, he was the first to howl. Days turned into weeks. The academy slowly changed. Where there had once been the sound of metal and shouting, now there was laughter. Even some adult soldiers started passing by the cub wing just to hear her songs. Some said the cubs trained better after seeing her. They fought harder, but also cared for each other more. The scientists began to study this human effect. They called it the Lila phenomenon. They recorded data: cub aggression, down 80%, sleep compliance, 100%, emotional response to human absence, extreme. They even changed the academy schedule around her nap time because when she slept, the cubs refused to train. Yes, the entire Galactic Academy had to move its operations around one human's nap time. It was ridiculous. And yet no one dared to change it. But deep inside the academy, not everyone was happy. Commander Rass, a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 eyes, watched the footage silently. His species, the Zeltor, had fought humans a century ago. He remembered the wars, the destruction, the fear. And now this small human girl was being praised by his people. He didn't like it. "She's manipulating them," he whispered. "That's what humans do." They smile while they plan. He sent a secret order to the science division. Observe her closely. Report any sign of control. And so cameras were installed in her room. Sensors tracked her heartbeat, her speech, her movements. But what they saw only made the mystery deeper. At night, when everyone slept, Lila would sit by the window looking at the stars. She would hum softly, a song about Earth, about home. Sometimes she would cry. One night, a small cub woke up and saw her tears. He climbed out of his pod, walked to her, and placed his small hand on hers. "Why you sad, Lila?" he asked in broken Galactic Basic. She smiled through her tears. "I miss my home," she whispered. The cub tilted his head. "We are your home," he said simply. And she couldn't hold back anymore. She hugged him tightly. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Every cub, without being told, brought her small gifts: shiny stones, broken tools, flowers from the academy gardens. It was their way of saying, "You're not alone." The instructors watched from behind the glass, speechless. Even the admiral said nothing. Something about that scene, the humans surrounded by alien children, all smiling, touched even the coldest hearts. But peace never lasts forever. Late one night, alarms went off in the academy. Unknown ships had entered orbit. The cubs woke up in panic, howling for Lila. The walls shook, lights flickered. Instructors ran through the halls. When soldiers arrived at the youngling wing, they found Lila standing in front of the cubs, shielding them with her arms. "Stay behind me!" she shouted, eyes filled with determination. The guards paused. They didn't expect bravery from her. She looked fragile, but in that moment she looked unstoppable. The Academy's defense systems activated. Outside, explosions lit the sky, and in the chaos one thing became clear. The cubs didn't howl because they were weak. They howled because they loved her, and they were ready to fight for her. The alarm screamed through the halls of the Galactic Academy. Red lights flashed. The ground shook. The night sky outside burned with streaks of plasma fire. Lila stood in front of the cubs, her arms spread wide. Behind her, dozens of small alien children trembled, their fur standing on end, tails tucked close. "Stay together," she shouted over the noise. "Don't move!" The academy was under attack. No one knew who it was, pirates, rebels, or something worse. But the enemy ships were fast, and they had already broken through the defense grid. Within minutes, chaos filled the academy. Soldiers ran through corridors shouting orders. Instructors guided students into shelters. But in the youngling wing, things were different, because the cubs refused to leave Lila's side. One officer rushed in, his armor dented and sparking. "Caretaker Lila, you must evacuate now." She shook her head. "I'm not leaving them. You don't understand." "No," she said firmly. "You don't understand. If I go, they'll follow me. They'll panic. I stay, they stay calm." The officer hesitated. For a moment he saw the truth in her eyes. Calm, unshaken, human. He saluted quickly and ran back into the hall. Lila turned to the cubs again. "Everything will be okay," she whispered. "Just like nap time, remember?" Deep breaths. They obeyed. Outside the academy in the command tower, Admiral Core watched the radar. 2 enemy ships inbound. Unknown markings. Not pirates. "Energy readings off the scale, sir," said an officer. "They're not after the fleet, they're targeting Section 12. Admiral Core froze. Section 12. The youngling wing. Where Lila was back inside, the walls trembled again. A loud explosion shook the floor and part of the ceiling cracked. Dust fell like rain. The cubs began to cry, their voices trembling. And then, a howl. It came from Ricard, the biggest cub. A deep, fierce sound filled with fear and anger. The others joined in, howling louder and louder, their combined voices echoing like a storm. Lila knelt beside them, her hand on Ricard's shoulder. "Hey, look at me." He turned, his golden eyes glowing faintly. "You're brave," she said softly. "You all are. I need my soldiers to be strong, okay? Protect each other." Something changed in the cubs' eyes. The fear turned into focus. One by one they stood, their tiny claws and tails ready. They didn't understand war, but they understood her. Minutes later, a blast ripped through the corridor door. Smoke filled the air. Metal twisted. From the haze, 3 tall figures stepped in, black armor, glowing red visors. Their movements were cold, mechanical. Intruders. One of them raised a weapon. "Retrieve the human," a robotic voice ordered. "Do not harm the specimens," Lila's heart pounded. "They came for me." Before she could react, Ricard leaped forward, growling. The invaders aimed their guns, but the cub moved faster than they expected. He bit one of their arms, sparks flying as metal tore. "Ricard, no," Lila cried, grabbing him back. The soldiers turned their weapons toward her, and then something incredible happened. All the cubs roared together, dozens of alien children charging at the attackers. Tiny claws scratched metal. Energy blasts missed wildly as the cubs jumped, bit, and clawed. They were small, but they were furious. It wasn't a battle. It was chaos. But it worked. The soldiers stumbled back, overwhelmed by the swarm. One fell, another's weapon was thrown aside. Lila grabbed the dropped blaster and aimed it with trembling hands. She had never fired one before. But she had seen enough movies. Click. Whir. She pulled the trigger. A blue beam shot out, hitting the armored soldier square in the chest. He fell backward, smoke rising. The cubs froze for a moment, staring. Then they howled, not in fear but victory. In the control room, Admiral Kor stared at the live feed in disbelief. "Is she fighting them? With the cubs?" "Yes, sir," replied the officer. "And it's working." Kor's mouth curled into a grin. "By the stars. That human has steel in her bones." But the danger wasn't over. More intruders were landing. The Academy trembled again as another ship docked forcibly against the west hangar. The defense systems were failing. Commander Rass, who had secretly ordered her observation, saw the chaos unfold on his monitor. His 4 eyes narrowed. "They're here for her," he muttered. "Someone wants the human alive." "Why?" He turned to his aide. "Prepare the containment field. If she survives, I want her brought to me." There was something dark in his voice. Jealousy, fear, maybe both. Back in the cub wing, Lila and the children hid behind overturned tables. Smoke filled the air and alarms still blared. Her breathing was heavy. She looked down at the blaster in her hands, shaking slightly. Ricard crawled beside her. "You hurt?" he asked softly. She smiled weakly. "No, I'm fine. You?" He puffed his chest proudly. "Ricard strong. Protect Lila." She chuckled quietly. "Yes, you did good, soldier." But before she could say more, a new voice came through the speakers, cold and deep. "Attention, Section 12. This is Commander Rass. All personnel, hold position. Reinforcements inbound. Human caretaker, remain where you are." Something in his tone made her uneasy. She didn't trust him, and she was right. A few minutes later, a squad of Academy guards arrived. But they weren't there to rescue. They were there to take her. "Caretaker Lila," the lead guard said, "Commander Rass has ordered your immediate transfer to Secure Zone Alpha, for your safety." Lila looked at the cubs, who clung to her legs. "Can they come with me?" "No, only you." Her heartbeat quickened. She could tell by their stance, weapons half raised, voices too stiff, that something wasn't right. She slowly shook her head. "Then I'm not going," the guard sighed. "We have orders." He reached forward, and that was his mistake. Before his hand could touch her, Ricard growled and the cubs lunged again, snapping and biting at the soldiers' boots. "Get them off!" one yelled. Lila used the moment to grab Ricard and back away toward the exit. Smoke still covered the hallway. She ran. The chase through the academy began. Corridors flashed red as she sprinted, clutching Ricard's paw. The sound of boots echoed behind her. She turned corners, dodged debris, ducked under sparking cables. Her lungs burned, but she didn't stop. Almost there, she gasped. The hangar! She remembered the training bay connected to an old escape pod dock. Maybe she could use it, but when she reached it, the door was locked. Manual override. Come on. She muttered, typing rapidly on the console. The system beeped. Access denied. Behind her, the guards appeared again. Stop, don't make this harder. Lila turned, clutching the blaster again. Stay back, she warned. You can't fight us all. She smiled slightly. Maybe not, but I don't have to. From behind the guards, the sound of claws and howls echoed. The cubs had followed. All of them, the guards turned, and too late. A wave of small but furious aliens crashed into them. Lila took the chance, slammed the emergency lever, and the hangar door opened. Wind roared through the room as she climbed into an old pod, pulling Ricard with her. Buckle in, she said. He didn't know what that meant, but he held on tightly. The pod's engine sputtered, then roared to life. As the hatch closed, one of the guards managed to shout, She's escaping! Stop her! Too late. The pod blasted out of the academy, fire trailing behind. From the command tower, Admiral Kor watched the small pod fly away. What's her status? Escaped orbit. Heading toward the moon sector, an officer replied. Kor exhaled slowly. Good, keep the signal locked. She might be the Academy's only chance. Far below, the cubs were rounded up by soldiers crying for her. Their howls filled the halls again, mournful, echoing through steel and silence. Even battle-hardened warriors paused to listen. Commander Rass watched from the upper deck, expression unreadable. Let her run, he said coldly. We'll find her, and when we do, we'll know exactly what kind of weapon a human really is. Inside the escape pod, Lila sat quietly, staring at the stars outside the small window. Ricard was curled up beside her, sleeping at last. His small claws rested on her arm, trusting her completely. She smiled softly, exhaustion washing over her. We did it, she whispered. We're safe. For now. The pod drifted silently into the void, toward the pale moon ahead. But in the distance, another shadow moved. A dark ship following her trail. And so, the real story was only beginning. The escape pod drifted silently through the dark void. Outside, the stars shimmered like frozen sparks. Inside, Lila sat with her knees pulled up, eyes fixed on the sleeping cub beside her. Ricard's tiny chest rose and fell softly. His fur was messy, his tail twitching even in dreams. He looked peaceful, but Lila couldn't rest. Her mind kept replaying the chaos, the alarms, the howls, the explosions. The cubs were still inside the academy. Her cubs, and she had left them behind. The pod's control panel blinked with warnings. Oxygen low, fuel minimal, navigation unstable. She tapped the console, trying to open a communication link. Come on, please, she whispered. The signal flickered, static filling the small cabin. Finally, a weak voice came through. Lila, do you copy? This is Admiral Kor. Where are you? Relief washed over her. Admiral. The cubs, they're still in danger. The academy, calm down, Kor interrupted. His voice sounded strained. We're holding for now, but someone sabotaged our systems. It wasn't the attackers. It was from inside. Her heart sank. Commander Rass. There was silence on the other end. Then Kor spoke again, his tone grim. He's taken control of the upper deck. He says humans are a threat to the galaxy. He's calling you a spy. A spy? Lila whispered. I took care of their children. I know, Lila, I know. But he has the data. He twisted it. He's telling everyone your songs altered their minds. She froze. That's insane. They just needed comfort. He doesn't care. He's using fear. Kor's voice grew heavy. Listen to me. The cubs won't calm down. They haven't eaten. They haven't slept. The academy is falling apart without you. Lila's hands trembled. She looked down at Ricard, who stirred in his sleep, mumbling her name softly. I'm coming back, she said. Lila, no, your pod's damaged. You won't make, but she had already shut off the comms. Her decision was made. She rerouted power from the pod's emergency lights to the thrusters. The ship groaned in protest, but it turned slowly, heading back toward the glowing blue planet where the academy orbited. Ricard woke up, blinking. We go home? he asked sleepily. She smiled faintly. Yes, soldier. We're going home. Back at the academy, Commander Rass stood in front of a crowd of officers. Large screens behind him showed images of Lila, feeding the cubs, hugging them, singing to them. To anyone else, it looked beautiful, but Rass made it sound dangerous. Observe, he said coldly. The human releases sound frequencies that change cub behavior. She has controlled their emotions, their loyalty. She has made them dependent. One officer frowned. But Commander, Silence! Rass snapped. You've seen the data. The cubs disobey orders when she is absent. They refuse to eat or train. That is not love. That is manipulation. He turned, his 4 eyes gleaming. Humans are dangerous. They destroyed their own world once. I will not let them destroy ours. He didn't notice the small shadow slipping through the lower vents. A technician secretly recording everything. And that recording would soon change everything. Meanwhile, the cubs were restless. The nursery wing echoed with their cries. They refused to touch food, refused to move. The soft glow of lights reflected off their fur as they huddled together. Ricard wasn't there to lead them, and Lila wasn't there to calm them. One instructor, tired and frustrated, muttered, "It's like they're waiting for her." Another replied softly, "Maybe they are." Hours later, a bright light streaked across the sky. The damaged escape pod pierced through the atmosphere like a falling star. Fire surrounded it, metal screaming against gravity. Inside, Lila held onto Ricard tightly. "Almost there!" she yelled over the noise. The pod shook violently, alarms flashing red. The landing gear failed, and they crashed near the outer academy fields. The impact threw her forward, the seatbelt cutting across her chest. For a moment, everything went black. When she opened her eyes, smoke filled the cabin. Her head throbbed, but she could hear a small voice beside her. "Lila, wake up!" Ricard tugged her sleeve. She smiled weakly. "I'm okay." Outside, the academy loomed in the distance, glowing under emergency lights. She could hear faint sirens and howls. The cubs had sensed her return. She stumbled out of the wreckage, supporting Ricard with one arm. The air smelled of burnt metal. Distant explosions rumbled. She could see soldiers fighting near the hangar, loyalists versus Rass's guards. The academy had turned into a battlefield. They slipped into the maintenance tunnels, avoiding the main corridors. Ricard led the way, using his small size to crawl through vents. "Left," he whispered. "Shortcut to Cubs." Lila followed, heart pounding. Every sound echoed like thunder. Her legs ached, but she didn't stop. Meanwhile, in the control tower, Admiral Kor was losing patience. "Find her signal," he barked. "If she made it through, she'll head for the Cubs." A young officer turned, surprised. "Admiral, you still trust her?" Kor stared at the chaos on his screen. The cubs refusing to obey orders, crying endlessly. "Trust?" he said quietly. "No, but I've seen how those children look at her." That kind of loyalty can't be faked. Lila and Ricard finally reached the youngling wing. The doors were sealed, guarded by drones. She looked around quickly, then spotted an access panel. "Ricard, can you fit in there?" she asked. He nodded eagerly. "Yes," she smiled. "All right, soldier. Time to earn that title." He crawled into the small vent and vanished. A few seconds later, sparks flew from the panel. Then the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, dozens of cubs turned toward her. Their eyes widened. For a moment, there was silence. And then, a deafening chorus of howls. They rushed to her, wrapping around her legs, climbing her arms. Lila laughed through tears, hugging them all. "I missed you too," she whispered. The howls spread through the academy again, echoing like music. In the tower, Rass froze. "She's back?" An aide nodded nervously. "Yes, Commander, and the Cubs have reactivated the internal systems. They're overriding lockdown protocols." Rass slammed his fist on the console. "No, she won't ruin this." He turned to his guards. "Bring me the human, now!" Lila knew they were coming. She gathered the Cubs quickly. "Listen to me, everyone. We have to be brave now, okay? We're going to stop the bad guys, and together." The Cubs nodded, eyes fierce. Even the smallest among them puffed out their chests. They trusted her completely. Using the Academy's internal map, she guided them through maintenance corridors, avoiding security patrols. Ricard stayed by her side, alert and silent. At last, they reached the command deck, where Rass was waiting. The doors opened with a hiss. Commander Rass stood tall, 4 cold eyes locked on her. "So," he said slowly, "the human returns." Lila stepped forward, unarmed. The cubs stood behind her in rows, quiet but ready. "I'm not your enemy, Ras," she said calmly. "You're afraid of something you don't understand." He laughed bitterly. "Understand? I've studied humans for years. You infect everything you touch." "No," she said softly. "We feel everything we touch." "That's what you fear," he raised his weapon. "You control them with emotions." "No, I teach them emotions, compassion, love. Things your army forgot long ago." His eyes narrowed. "And what good is love in war?" Lila looked at the cubs behind her, then back at him. "Enough to make soldiers fight for something greater than orders." Ras hesitated for just a second, and that was enough. Rakar leaped forward with a roar, grabbing the weapon from his hand. The cubs followed, surrounding Ras, growling fiercely. Lila stepped forward and placed her hand on the commander's arm. "It's over." In that moment, the technician's hidden recording went live across the academy. Every screen flickered, showing Ras's earlier speech, his lies, his plan, his hatred for humans. The truth spread like fire. Officers in the halls froze, realizing what had happened. Soldiers lowered their weapons. Admiral Kor appeared on the main screen, voice booming. "Commander Ras, you are relieved of duty." "Effective immediately." Guards stormed in and restrained him. He screamed in fury as they dragged him away. Lila watched silently, exhaustion written on her face. Hours later, the academy was quiet again. The fires were out. The halls were calm. The cubs slept peacefully in their pods, tails curled and soft snores filling the air. Lila stood by the window, staring at the sunrise over the planet below. Admiral Kor approached, his heavy steps echoing softly. "You saved them," he said. She smiled faintly. "They saved me." Kor looked at her for a moment, then chuckled. "You know, I had to rewrite the entire academy schedule again." She raised an eyebrow. "Oh," he nodded. "Yes, from now on, all training pauses during caretaker Lila's nap time." They both laughed. Later, as she tucked the cubs in, Rakar opened one sleepy eye. "Lila?" She brushed his fur gently. "Yes, Rakar?"
"Why we howl?"
"When you gone?" She smiled. "Because love is loud, little one, and even the stars can hear it." He grinned, then yawned. "Good. Stars should listen." He closed his eyes, tail curling around her hand. As the lights dimmed, Lila sat quietly among the sleeping cubs. The academy, once a cold military fortress, now felt alive, full of warmth, laughter, and something new. Hope. The galaxy had seen the power of fear for centuries, but that night, they saw something far stronger, the power of a human heart. And somewhere deep in the quiet halls of the academy, a whisper echoed. The cubs howled whenever she was gone, but now the whole academy listens when she dreams.